So, look at this. Can you do that with the spine of your knife? In this video, I show you 20 reasons why such a sharp spine has the value of gold. And I show you some simple tricks how you can achieve this sharpness on your knife. So stay tuned. Hello YouTube, welcome to another video about the Victorinox Venture collection. A sharp spine on my knives is a lot more for me than just a nice to have. Around the topics of fire making, food prepping and woodworking are a lot of different tasks which can be done with the sharp back of your knife. Often it's a matter of protecting or saving the cutting edge from your knife, but sometimes it works even better with the spine than with the cutting edge. This video is not only interesting for those who bought the Victorinox Venture. This video is interesting for everyone who own an outdoor knife and want to have a sharp spine. The special thing on the Venture is that I never had another knife in my hand with such a sharp spine out of the box. And this sharp spine is not a coincidence. We made it intentionally because we saw the advantages, the added possibilities, the additional values of such a sharp spine. But as I already said, you can get almost every knife spine on this sharpness level, especially with the trick I show you at the end. With this trick, you can achieve at least 5% extra sharpness on an already well-grinded spine. For the ones who don't like a sharp spine, I can just say, you made nothing wrong. Listen on your heart and don't do it if you don't feel safe. Later in this video, I will tell you more about my thoughts, why I am not afraid that you will hurt yourself badly on the sharp spine of your knife. And if you own a Venture and you don't like the sharp spine, hey, just take a grinding stone, round off the edges a little bit. This is done in a few seconds, nothing easier than that. But if you want benefit from the additional versatility of a sharp spine, watch this video until the end. But before we dive into the sharpening process, I would like to show you 20 tasks in 3 minutes where a sharp spine is a blessing. And now I would say, let's go! You can clean the cut surface of a tree trunk so that you can prepare food on it. You can round off an edge of a board. You can peel the bark of a branch. You can clean roots and make them flexible so that you can use them as binding material. You can use the sharp back of a knife to smooth a rough surface, like with a scraper card. You can fine-tune a bow. You can descale a fish. You can peel potatoes. You can peel a cucumber. Yes, doesn't work perfect, but if you have nothing else, do it. But peeling carrots works perfect. You can grate hard cheese if you want to cook spaghetti or pesto somewhere outdoors. You can also grate chocolate if you want to make chocolate pancakes or omelets. You can scrape off burnt spots from food which was too close to the fire. with a sharp spine. You can scrape off plastic if you need tinder. In this case, you can't see the flames, but believe me, that works great. You can scrape off curls from a dry stick and use them as tinder. And you can use the sharp spine of your knife to scrape off fine shavings of fat wood. And of course, you can also use the back of your knife as striker for your ferro rod. And you can also use the spine of your knife to roughen up the surface of a bark so that it can catch easier the sparks of a ferro rod. And again, I really like the added versatility that the knife with a sharp spine offers you. I don't want to be without. But so many knife companies round off the edges of their knives because they think a knife with a sharp spine is not a well-finished product. I agree with this for a kitchen knife, but regarding a bushcraft knife, I'm the opposite opinion. And if you think it is too dangerous for me, if the whole back is sharp, you can also take a sharpening stone and round off the edges partially and these spots where you think I want to put up my thumb during the carving process. And anyway, that you get in danger to cut yourself on the spine, you need more than just a push motion. You need also a sideways move like this. And you need a lot of pressure and a lot of speed. Like this, yes, it can happen that you cut yourself. But is this ever happened to you? And if yes, was it grave? Please let me know in the comment section below. But for me, this isn't really a problem I'm afraid of. All in all, I just want to say that I'm super happy that Victorinox decided to deliver the Victorinox Venture with a sharp spine. Because round off a sharp spine is a lot easier than sharpen a round spine. And now we change the place, we go to my workshop, and there we dive into the 3 steps of the sharpening process. So welcome to my workshop. I would say let's start with the first step, the rough grinding step. The rough grind step is only necessary if the spine of the blade is not sharp enough to produce sparks if you strike it over a ferro rod. So on this knife, the spine needs a rough grind step that you get a 90-degree angle with a more or less sharp edge. This knife, for example, it works not perfect, but it works a little bit. So I would say on this spine you can overjump the rough grind step. The Mura knives are the only ones who are not able to produce sparks if you strike it over a ferro rod. The reason for that is that after stamping out the blades, they are not treated on the back side, on the spine. They are not over-grinded. So the spine of these knives look like this. So they have marks from the stamping out process, and the edges are quite round. All other knives are over-grinded. So that's why, and don't understand me wrong, I like the Mura knives, but that's why they need a rough grind step that you get a 90-degree edge more or less sharp. So I made that on my Mura companion, and I had to remove 0.5 millimeter until I get a nice clean flat with sharp edges. And if you want to do that with normal knife sharpening systems like this Lansky set or this TS Proof or this Apex clone, you will have problem how to hold the knife that you can sharpen a 90-degree spine. And with these stones you need half a day if you want to remove 0.5 millimeter from these blades. So for this rough work I recommend to use a belt grinder or a bench grinder, or at least a sharp file. And if you have more professional machines than me, it works even better. but it works also with these cheap machines. So I don't want to waste too much words how you have to do that. But in my case, it worked often better to keep the 90-degree edge if I worked like this and not like this, or like this and not like this. If you don't have a machine, just take a good old file and do it like this. Or take the big sharpening stone Now the rough grinding work on both moras is done. Now you are able to produce sparks and you are able to make some fat wood curls. So I would say now we are on about 80 or 85% of the possible sharpness. But if you want to get here to this sharpness level, you have to invest a little bit more time. But nothing wrong if you stop the work here. Nothing wrong with that. With this, you can strike a ferro rod, you can make fat wood curls. Nothing wrong about. Now let's jump to the second step, the fine sharpening step. This step is based on the first step. You can enter also direct on the second step, but this step requires a certain basic precision and a certain basic sharpness of your knife spine. In other words, your knife should be able to produce sparks and shavings from fat wood. So in this step, we will use finer grinding tools than my bench grinder or my cheap belt sander or a file. Basically, we will use the same sharpening tools as we need to sharpen the cutting edge of our knives. So with these sharpening systems and a little bit creativity, we can produce super clean, super precise, long-lasting 90-degree spines. And now I will give you some ideas how such a guided sharpening device for knife spines can look like. If you have a Lansky set at home or something similar, you can make such a guidance jig with just a wood block, some magnets, a screw, a nut and a washer. That's all. And now you can hold the knife in a vise. Now you can adjust with the screw the height of the guidance point, and with such a digital protractor you can measure the perfect angle for a 90-degree spine. Then go through from coarse to super fine, and after you will have the perfect spine. Or if you like to work with such an apex system, you can make something similar. So just take a pot magnet like this. So, and now you can adjust again the jig for the perfect 90-degree spine, and you will also have different grids like this. You can make a perfect 90-degree spine. So now we have a wonderful spine, and this will have oh, look at this performance. This is fantastic. But you will feel a little burr And if this is enough for you, if you don't want to go a step further, I would recommend let the burr on the knife. But if you want to go a step further, I would recommend to remove the burr very carefully, like this. Yes. Because a burr from grinding is not the best burr. In the last step, I will show you how you can make a better burr than the burr from grinding. And of course, you can also use a professional belt sander or this Canonian belt sander from Workshop. So this works also perfect to sharpen the spine. And these sanding belts you can have in different grades. So this is perfect. Or you can also use the jig we made to sharpen the protruding tang or the spoon carving tool. And these diamond plates you can also buy in different grades. How to make such a jig I showed you in the last video. The link for this video you'll find in the description box below. So what we have now after the second step is a plain, clean, exact and sharp 90-degree spine. Only thing we can add in the third step is 5 or 10% more sharpness. And I'll show you now how this works. The technique I want to show you is an old woodworking technique. You can use it for sharpen a card scraper like this with a burnisher. A card scraper is a hardened piece of metal with a burr on the edges. And this burr is made by pressing, by cold forming with this burnisher. And this burr you can use like a microplane. Due to the cold forming process of the burr with the burnisher, the material is densified and hard. And that's why this burr is long lasting. You can also create the burr with the belt grinder, for example. Then you get the burr on this side. But there's the danger that the material gets too hot and the carbon particles from the metal burn out. And like this, you never get the burr with this long lasting. And with the belt grinder, you don't densify the material. That's why to create the burr with the burnishing tool like this is the best way to create a hard, long-lasting and sharp burr. Recently I saw a video from the YouTube channel Machete Bushcraft Australia, and they showed how to create a burr on the back of a machete. And what I want to do now is the same on the spine of a knife and not on a machete. To create such a burr on the spine of your knife, you need a burnishing tool. You can buy such a burnishing tool, but I don't have. So that's why I have to improvise a burnishing tool. And I took the shaft of this screwdriver. In this case, this was hard enough. Or I made it also with this hardened metal pin. And you can also try to do it with a honing steel. So I don't have much experience with this, but you can try it. And believe me, how to sharpen a card scraper. This is a science of itself. I don't want to open this book. What I do is, I'll show you in the 4 steps how I do it. And this doesn't mean that this is the best method. This is just what worked for me on my knives. The drawing on step 1 looks like the stamped out spine from a cheap Mora knife. The drawing on step 2 shows us a well-grinded spine with a proper 90-degree edge. This is where we are now. On drawing number 3, you can see that we have to lift the burr, so let's do this. So we put our knife on a flat surface, take the burnishing tool and we put it flat on the knife Then we tilt it about 10 degrees, something like this. And now we make some strokes like this. Then we turn the blade and I make the same on this side. Don't press too much. Okay. And now you can feel a burr on this side, and here it is totally flat. And on step number 4, I hold the knife like this. I hold the burnisher in a 90-degree angle to the side flat. I tilt it maybe 10 degrees, and now I push down the exposed burr to the side. Same on the other side. And the last stroke I made is maybe 20 degrees, so that the burr makes a curve like this. And now look at this. I have a perfect burr. So now I would say, let's test the performance. Look at this. This is a joy. Look at these shavings. Great. So, and at the end of this video remains the question, can I hurt myself on this burr? And I think the risk is manageable. So I need a lot of pressure and I need a lot of speed that I get a cut. And hey, try it yourself. I just can say I have such a burr on almost every bushcraft knife I own, and until now I never hurt myself. So my friends, that's it for today. If you want to know more about creating a burr on a knife, please watch the video from Bushcraft Machete Australia. The link you find in the description box below. My English is too bad to explain to you all details of this science. So watch this video, they explain it fantastic. So this is the last video in this year. I will do a little YouTube and social media break until mid of January, something like this. Thanks a lot for your support. I wish you a wonderful Christmas and see you in the next year. Ciao.